Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're taking a look at the Ardnamurchan Sherry Cask release, first release, Oloroso and PX, 50% ABV. Dustin, sample sent to us for our good buddy Mike B. So I don't know if this is the first release for Sherry in general, or the Sherry plus, the Oloroso plus the PX. I don't know if it's a first release for both of them combined or just Sherry in general. So I don't have that detail on it, but I will try to figure out and put it in the description if I can. So again, 50% ABV, Ardnamurchan. This will be our third or fourth one.
Third one reviewed. A lot of people did not like our review of the 10-year.
Not as bad as I disliked the whiskey.
That is true. The whiskey was far worse than anybody could have thought of that review. But that said, multiple people have reached out to me and told me, hey, you got to try more. So one thing I wanted to mention in the last video is that these guys are owned by Adelphi, who are really well known in the independent bottling world for their sherry casks.
Yeah, that's some good ones.
Definitely kind of excited to see what the sherry does. And as I've said, I think there's potential with this distillery. I just don't get the hype. But let's get into it, Mike.
All right, Dustin, let's get into it. Ardnamurchan, PX and Oloroso. No age statement. First release.
I can definitely smell new make distillate, and I can smell PX. And it is a juicy, chewy PX.
Yeah, PX comes right. And I tell you what, big time berries.
Yeah, got a little bit of smokiness. I don't know if
raspberries and cherries.
We didn't look to see if this was peated or not, did we?
No, I didn't. It smells peated, though, I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's got a young peat. Kind of reminds me of like the early releases of those Kilcairn heavily peated. So.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't peated. Only because the first Ardnamurchan we did, even though it was a non-age statement or very, very young,
it was peated.
It was peated, right? There were things I could get behind it. It was kind of waxy. You know what I mean?
No, actually, honestly, mouthfeel and the peat really worked well there. The 10 that unpeated did not work.
It did not. Not for us, anyway. All right. Anyway, back to this.
Because I'm getting like a smoke, but I'm also getting just like a very young, like kind of a little bit of like a copper, like burning something on a metal.
See, I almost think it's caramel.
Burnt caramel, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
There is
like caramel and berries are coming up to me on this.
Berries for sure, big time.
Big time caramel for me. I mean, I don't know.
It's the chalky bitiness at the end that's really just kind of like sending me down this road of like slightly off the still notes. But up front,
you see on the 10-year-old, I agreed with how you said that. But here with this one, even though it's probably younger, it almost comes off beeswaxy. If that makes sense, like a weird honey.
Well, I mean, I gotta say the PX cask on here is excellent, and it's not just covering stuff, but it's just really, really good sherry. I mean,
are you getting chocolate though? I guess I could say I'm getting a little bit of chocolate.
I mean, yeah, but again, it's almost like unsweet chocolate kind of thing going on.
What kind of almost like a chalky chocolate? But you know what surprised me about this? I mean, again, I don't know if you're not getting this at all yet, but the caramel really, to me, stands out on this.
I don't get it that high. I mean, I get some caramel notes. I get a little bit of a little spiciness coming through here. I haven't been able to put my finger on what the spice is, but I think Ardnamurchan seems to have a spiciness to the distillate that again, reminds me a little of Glen Scotia, but not that spicy.
I tell you what.
I'm not finding the Oloroso that it's done much here. I'm not really getting the stateliness of an Oloroso.
I usually look for like chocolates and things like that to try to kind of
drying notes either aren't really coming
for an Oloroso. I mean, maybe the red berry notes coming from that.
It comes from PX a lot too.
Right, I would say it could come from either one.
So I kind of get that caramel.
Yeah.
So the caramel, but I keep coming back. I liken that to the PX cask. That to me is just a really sweet PX note on the finish here.
You might be right.
I mean, I'm trying to guess.
It kind of intermingles with that beeswaxy note for me.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had enough of their stuff to really pick up on the distillate, so I'm kind of it's kind of a different distillate in general. They're definitely doing something a little different down there. Yeah, but yeah, a little bit of smoke. So yeah, if it doesn't come off peated once I taste it, I'll be a little surprised, but I'm assuming this is maybe a blend of peated and unpeated. I wouldn't think this is all peated.
Definitely peated. Definitely peated malt. Heavy peat as soon as you swallow. But before that, you get nice fruits, nice PX. Again, this has a little bit of I don't know if I say oiliness, but there is a thickness to this spirit, both on the nose and on the palate, that I'm kind of noticing. That I will say is, again, beeswaxy, but I really can't articulate it better right now than that. But again, punchy. There's red fruit sticking on the side.
That is a funky mid palate, just like it's like burnt honey and a little bit of oh gosh, I want to say ginger, but it's not even ginger. It's some kind of like hint of nutmeg maybe with a little bit of like cinnamon.
There are some spices here that I missed.
The beginning definitely hits you with the PX, and the finish has like some PX notes. But weirdly, it's like the mid palate note is actually what's lingering. Is that sort of smoked funk? Definitely peated for sure, like you said.
Definitely peated.
Interesting. The finish is long. I will say it's not really like a whiskey that gives you like the waves of transitions. Like I note that it's initially sweet on the arrival, and then you get a little bit of it on the finish. But that mid part is like 85, 90%. It's just kind of like, splash of sweetness. Then here's the peat and smoke. And then a little splash with, spices throughout. What was the ABV on this?
50.
Okay.
It comes off stronger than that. Maybe it's the peat, but it does come off stronger.
Could be the youth as well. And also the oiliness of the PX kind of holding on to you a little bit.
Yeah, I tell you what, this distillery, again, our sample size small, granted. When you have sherry cask and you have peated to the small, it makes up for a lot of the things I didn't like about the 10.
Yeah, I mean, again, I keep going back to it. I do see potential in this distillate. I think it's got real potential.
Yeah, we were disappointed with the 10. We were looking forward to it. We thought it would be.
I still can't believe that was a 10th anniversary release. Like, that's just mind-boggling to me.
You have to be on point if you're going to go bourbon cask maturation only and non-peated.
Well, they did. Remember, that was a champagne cask.
You're right.
A big part of that. And I think that's
right, it was. I mean, that was light, though. You know what I'm saying?
in my mind, they should have done all champagne cask or none. I think mixing it just caused it to get weird. Anyway, let's not focus on that. Guys, I went back and tried to like it after reading all the comments, and I liked it less.
Yeah. We are where we are. Now, spices really coming up now with water. You get cinnamon, Christmas spices, some type of green spice, not a mint or clove, it's just indistinct green, something leafy.
I'm starting to get more of the Oloroso, the kind of drying, slightly chocolatey sherry note at the end. I'm not getting more spices.
I'm getting definitely more spice with water.
I'm getting the same spice levels before, but the PX has been cut through a little bit on the initial arrival, and that's maybe that's why you're getting more spice.
Perhaps. I mean, 50% you figure I'd get in that. 50% is a weird ABV. It's usually, that's the number.
That's a bourbon ABV, not a scotch.
Yeah, but for scotch, it's plenty. And I'll tell you what,
it is plenty.
The 10 was 50% also, wasn't
yes.
it?
That seems to be their kind of standard, regular go-to, I guess, when they don't go
That is
past.
absolutely a positive, I will say. 50% is plenty with a single malt scotch.
Oh, that's great.
We've always said we like 48, but again, 50, even better. 50%,
We like cast drink, but we know, the compromises.
Correct.
Make it enough to where, your guy who doesn't want a heavy peat bomb, or heavy alcohol bomb can be
again, all the cast strength, as much as we would. If we ruled the world, it probably would. But.
Okay. Yeah, now I'm getting a little bit more of a nice kind of dessert note coming through.
I'm getting honey. Funky honey.
I'm getting a lot of chocolate now.
Chocolate was always there.
I'm getting a lot. This is actually smelling really good. I'm ready to go back in, man. It's it's getting more like pastries and starting to almost smell like a warm, fresh, chocolate. If it was such a thing as a chocolate cinnamon bun. A little frosting even on there.
Cinnamon tart.
Definitely some tartness to it.
No, cinnamon tart. And so like a strawberry tart.
Yeah,
that pastry.
There's a little bit of tardiness too. I would just say it's nice.
Yeah, that's significantly better. I'm impressed, Dustin. This is a good whiskey. Good, fun whiskey. All right, Dustin, whiskey score.
More spicy than it is oily on the water.
But I do think it has a natural
drying
heftiness to the mold itself. It feels like a thick, oily dram even at 50%. And I guess that's one thing I guess I could have said about the 10 in a more complimentary fashion. They did have a Klein-lish-esque.
The spiciness of those champagne casks made it come off thinner, even though on the initial arrival it actually did have a nice richness, which you're right, we did miss on that review.
We are defendants. Anyway, for this particular one, Dustin, I guess I had the bottle, so I can let you go first as far as a whiskey score.
Yeah. So I'm not enjoying the spice notes on here, Mike. They're just not for me. The peat is solid, but I'd like to see a lot more of it. I do think these are great sherry casks. I honestly, the taste after water Really not a fan as compared to with just neat. I'm going to give it an 84. Solid, sipper. I assume these are on the still pretty inexpensive. Great sherry casks. Again, I think they're on the right path, but boy, do they need some more age still.
It does come off a little young. I enjoyed it more than you. I was actually going back for between 2 scores. I'm going to give the higher for 2 scores. I'm going to say 87 out of 100.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying this 88 like this is a super fun whiskey, but this is an enjoyable whiskey. It's peated, especially neat. I agree. You didn't hit the water that great, but neat. Good cherry notes.
Yeah.
Peat, smoke.
I need to do all that to get an 87, man. 87 is a pretty high score for me.
87. I could have said 86, but I feel good about 87. Anyway, those are our thoughts on this particular whiskey. If you guys had a chance to try this Ardnamurchan first release of the Oloroso PX, 50% ABV, let us know what you guys think. Dustin, until next time, what do we wish the folks?
Happy, you guys, put your money where your mouth is.
Drinking. See you next time.